all across Montana with an interest in clean energy solutions. Maybe that's at the local level or the statewide level. Maybe it's in the realm of policy, technology, or entrepreneurship. We're talking about clean energy solutions for Montana today and how you might make a difference, whether that's making energy efficiency upgrades in your home or business, fundraising for solar at your school, or engaging with city and state decision makers on climate resilience planning. The menu of clean energy solutions is really far-reaching, but sometimes because there are so many options that can be hard to navigate. That's where MREA comes in. We're a member-based nonprofit organization. Our mission is to foster the growth of renewable energy for all Montanans. We envision a state with a renewable powered economy that changes lives for the better, but there's much work to be done in order to make that vision a reality. So by leading with local jobs, cost savings, and bolstering our local economies, MREA steps up as the voice for distributed generation businesses. Not only that, our work in solar education, financing and incentives, and practical tools makes MREA an invaluable asset to our state. That's why we're thrilled to know that so many people like you are interested in this work, that you showed up to the Renewable Rendezvous today, and we invite you to join the MREA community if you want to see a future for Montana powered by renewable fuel sources like the sun and wind, pumped hydro, batteries, and all the clean energy technology out there. Becoming a supporting member of MREA means that you're supporting the work that we are doing and work that could be possible in your communities as we advance renewable energy in Montana. So if you are not yet a member, we invite you to do that today. If you are a member, thank you for being a member of MREA. You make our work possible. And I'm going to put the MREA membership link in the chat. So to kick us off this afternoon, I'd like to introduce MREA's board president, Brad Van Wert, for our opening remarks.
Thank you, McKenna. Welcome, everyone. This is exciting. Looking in the chat bar here, we see we have a representation from all over Montana. We love that. So thank you for joining us. Welcome. I'm Brad Van Wert, president of MREA and co-owner of Harvest Solar. And tonight we're trying something new for the Montana Renewable Energy Association. We do a ton of educational events every year. And of course, we have our annual fair, which rotates across cities in Montana, and some other events and such. But the rendezvous here is, this is an opportunity for experts and newbies and everybody to come together and be under one big tent, as it were. That's what we try to do at MREA. We try to be a hub where we can all come together to discuss renewable energy and distributed generation and all that good stuff that we work in. So there'll be time momentarily for us to connect and get inspired and interact. But first, we're going to kick off our rendezvous here with a guest speaker, Louis Engels. Louis is the water quality superintendent from the city of Billings. He brings over 15 years of experience in the areas of waste and wastewater treatment, and he's got a keen interest in energy efficiency and sustainability. Louis also served as the lead point on the City of Billings Energy and Conservation Commission, and this is really exciting. They just recently achieved LEED for Cities Gold status, so Louis will tell us more about that. LEED is an acronym. Escaping me at the moment, sorry. But really exciting stuff. And I just think it's great. That's the first city here in Montana that has achieved that. And we're really proud of that for Billings. And we appreciate their efforts there. So yeah, Louis will talk about some of the cost saving measures and energy efficiency projects that they've implemented and has led to this LEED Gold status. Really excited to hear from him. So ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to welcome Louis Engels.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the introduction. Can you hear me okay? Awesome. Yeah, there's really a couple things that I want the audience to take away from the presentation today. Is one, there's a strong intersection between water use and energy use in a community. Water is very heavy and it's difficult to move and treat. And for most municipalities, it's the largest electrical user they have. And then the other is, of course, to talk about our effort to become LEED Gold certified, being the first in Montana, and that is something that we are very proud of. Excuse me, here in Billings. So those are kind of the two objectives. So if you want to advance to the next slide. I like to, begin most presentations, and when I talk to people outside the water industry, as to what exactly we do. So for Billings, I could tell you that we have a 60 million gallon per day drinking water plant. But what does that really mean? Go ahead and hit the space bar, advance. Well, in the wintertime, the demand, if you took a football field and you put the amount of water that Billings uses over the playing surface of that football field, we use about 35 feet, a 35-foot deep pool of water over that playing surface. And that's in the wintertime. Go ahead and advance to the next. Thank you very much. So what does that increase to in the summer? So this is every single day. It can be as much as 120-foot pool of water over the playing surface of that football field. So we've all felt a milk jug. We know it's 8 pounds for a gallon of water. So to be able to move that amount of water to people's residences and businesses every single day requires a tremendous amount of energy. Go ahead and advance to the next. Okay, so it's not just the water, the drinking water side of what we do. It's also the wastewater. So that 35-foot pool of water, nearly all of it returns to us in the form of wastewater at our wastewater treatment plant. So in order to turn that back into clean water, once again, it requires quite a bit of energy. Go ahead and advance. So each and every day, that is what we have to treat at the Billings wastewater treatment plant. Again, the point of all this is to show you that there's a significant amount of energy to both move that amount of water and to treat that amount of water. Go ahead and advance. Okay, one more time. All right, so this is kind of the second part or the second key point of the presentation here is that as part of the Energy and Conservation Commission within the city of Billings, which was formed in 2019, I guess let me talk a little bit about the commission itself. It's an all volunteer commission. We have 7 members, not all of them are pictured here. I'm on the far right there. I'm the city lead for this commission. But basically, it's a 4-year commission that we're actually working to get into a permanent commission for the city that advises the council on wise energy and resource consumption issues. Each one of these members had to have a background in energy or conservation. So it's been really helpful and fun to work with them because they're all technical experts in their fields. To help promote and advise the city on improvements. So that's where LEED came in. So as part of this commission, we were going to evaluate and benchmark Billings in comparison to other cities. So we didn't want to do that from scratch. So we looked at different rating systems. It used to be Star Cities. It actually combined with LEED to create a rating system that actually assesses communities on how well they are doing from an environmental perspective in relation to solid waste, water use, energy use, natural systems, and then innovation. Go ahead and advance. So the results, I'll kind of cut to the chase here because I don't have a ton of time. These are the different systems that it ranks Billings on, or any city. So there's integrated process, natural systems, transportation, water, energy, waste, and quality of life. So if you go ahead and advance, I can give you the skinny on how we as Billings did. The integrated process, part of it, we don't have a formal green building policy in Billings. So that's an opportunity for growth in the future. Go ahead and advance. Natural systems, we were incredible. And I'm not sure if LEED is used to benchmarking very densely populated cities that don't have much green space, but I imagine other Montana cities would do well in this area as well. But we actually had 9 times the amount of green space per capita than the LEED requirement. And then there was a requirement related to how far every citizen was from green space, so that it was more equitable. We did very, very well in those categories. We also did well in transportation. Go ahead and advance. One of the things that they look at is vehicle miles traveled per capita. Billings has done a good job in comparison to other cities. Is that we, it's not a huge city, so people aren't traveling across, making long commutes to work. But as far as vehicle miles traveled, we did very well there. Water was an area we needed to improve upon. It's one thing that I'm keenly focused on, obviously. So we were kind of middle of the road. We need to improve our conservation. You saw earlier with the amount of lawn irrigation that happens in the summer. A conservation program that is bolstered in that area would help Billings. Another area that we did really well was energy. This, I imagine, would be for Montana in general, but we're between 60 and 70% carbon free. A lot of that is related to wind and hydropower. As many on this call, I'm sure, would want to see that continue to improve. But in relation to other cities around the world, we did well in greenhouse gas consumption, as well as energy efficiency. Solid waste. This is another area. We throw away too much in Billings, and I would imagine in Montana in general. So that was an area that we need to significantly improve upon, and that's something I hope to be a part of in this Energy and Conservation Commission. Then finally, quality of life. That was outside of the scope of our commission, and ultimately we landed at gold. Bottom line, I think this was a really good process for Billings, because we went through all of this and it really helped assess where we stand as a city in comparison to others. We were the 21st city nationally to achieve gold. There are only 2 that have achieved platinum. We were hoping to eventually be one of those cities that achieved platinum. A lot of times people don't think of Billings as, hey, there's a bunch of renewable energy and other environmental initiatives going on. I think people drive through Billings and they see the refineries on kind of the outskirts of the city, and they think, well, that's, there's people aren't really focused on renewable energy in Billings. But I think as we proved as a city, that just isn't true, and it showed up in this LEED assessment. Go ahead and advance. So one of the things that we're focused on near and dear to my work is being more efficient with water, not only conserving, but also in the treatment area. We've invested in some highly technical solutions at our wastewater plant that we recently upgraded to remove nutrients, but being very, very efficient. I'm a big believer in efficiency first and then go after the generation. We've done a lot of work in Billings related to the efficiency of our systems, but overall reduction in water would be something that we're still working to improve in Billings. Go ahead and advance. Just to show you where Billings spends its money in electricity, we spend about $280,000 a month, and primarily, you see in blue there, about 73% of that is related to water or sewer service. And this isn't just us in Montana. I believe I was looking at Missoula's climate action plan, and there's similar their carbon footprint related to their water use, I believe, is in the 60s. So it's very significant, and I think that's the point for the people on this of interest to your organization is that there's just a lot of energy uses at these facilities, and can we co-locate renewable energy with these facilities in order to offset that load and further reduce carbon footprints, and honestly, with the cost of electricity these days, save money. So that gives you, I think I only have 10 minutes, so I won't go through the rest of my slides. I think I've kind of covered the portions I wanted to hit. Oh, I guess I do want to hit this one thing that is unique about Billings. We do methane capture on our landfill. I believe we're the only landfill in Montana that uses wells to capture the methane off of our landfill, and then it is cleaned and then sent and sold as renewable gas. We've been doing that since 2010, and it's been a public-private partnership with MDU that's been very successful for us, and been able to generate additional revenue, as well as taking the landfill or the methane off the landfill. So I'll stop there. We don't need to page through these. These are some of the other things that Billings has done and why we were LEED Gold. Solar system is something that I do want to see us improve. We have invested in some feasibility assessments for our major contributors, being the water and wastewater plants, but I'd like to see us grow in that area. So I'll go ahead and take questions, because I believe I only had 10 minutes. So happy to answer what questions you have.
Great. Thanks so much, Louis. Really helpful to hear this presentation about what's going on in Billings. So at this moment, we had 10 minutes for presentation and then 10 minutes to open the floor for questions. So if folks have questions now, you can add them into the chat, or you can go ahead and unmute and ask your question for Louis related to some of the work Billings is doing on the sustainability front.
Louis, I had a question for you. That's really fascinating information about what goes into all the water systems. And could you speak just a little bit more that had you upgraded your water treatment facility? Is that a work in progress?
Yes. So for wastewater treatment, we did an upgrade that was completed in 2019, and the most energy intensive process is aeration in wastewater treatment, and we invested in they're called turbo blowers, and they're the most efficient blower that you can use. We actually got a rebate from Northwestern Energy, a $90,000 rebate to use those, and then year over year they save $50,000 a year in power costs. On the drinking water side, we've invested heavily in variable frequency drives, which you're probably familiar with. And then we're in the process of constructing a second treatment plant on the west end of Billings, which will also include similar technologies.
Excellent. There's a question here from Mark Judeman. Could you talk about what Inflation Reduction Act funds Billings might access looking into the future?
Yeah, I'm not the expert within our organization regarding grants. However, I know that we've looked at them closely, specifically for this West End project. I'd be interested in talking more about it and getting, anybody who has more knowledge than I do in this area in touch with our finance department, who's been chasing a lot of these grants. Currently, I can't tell you the status if we've actually received any funds for that, but I know that we've been looking at them.
Great. That's exciting stuff. How about a question here from Barb Oldershaw in Livingston? She's asking about unexpected hurdles, I think related to the LEED certification. Any happy surprises, things that went more smoothly than anticipated, which perhaps is a broader question, Lewis, about like if other cities were to look into pursuing LEED certification, as other Montana cities, perhaps even folks who are officials on this call, what would be your advice or experience you would share with them going through that process?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think what we were successful in with the Energy and Conservation Commission is we already had built in the technical experts, including utilities and water systems, solid waste experts. So they knew kind of the right questions to ask. And there's a lot of data gathering that is required for the process. So if you have the right contacts and just the kind of industry knowledge in each of those areas, it really did help us get through the process. We went through it with a group of cities from around the country. So it was our leadership cohort. I think that was helpful. And so the Lead for Cities provided we had a grant for this, but they provided a liaison who helps you through the process. So he was very helpful in that as well. It does take time. There's a lot of writing that has to be done. There is obviously the data requests and submissions. But to me, that process, you gain a lot just going through that process because you look at things from a different angle, or maybe you look at things that you hadn't considered. And so at times it felt slow, but all in all, looking at the entire process, it was really good for us to assess where we are and where we want to be.
Excellent. Okay, just looking through the chat with questions here. A question particularly about the fire station PV system. Susan from Bozeman wants to know if that has battery storage included as a resiliency effort.
To my knowledge, it doesn't. I'm not intimately familiar with that. It's possible it does, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't.
Got it. Let's see, what else could be fun to draw from?
I could synthesize maybe two of them. I'm seeing kind of similar. Barb and Sarah, both from Livingston, were talking about what the motivation to undergo the process and some of the hurdles and how you might be able to offer a little bit of information, how they could approach their own city to investigate something like this.
Yeah, I think the impetus for us to start this was related to the commission wanting to have a benchmarking system, and because that was part of our resolution from the city council. Is the first thing we were to do was to get an inventory of the resources that Billings uses, and then get a framework was the second step. And so that's why we initially were looking for was a framework to evaluate Billings. If you're looking at this for other cities in Montana, I think it's great from a one is an economic development standpoint. I think more and more companies and people are looking at Montana cities and wondering, is this a place where they really care about quality of life? Do they really care about the environment? Increasingly, that is becoming something that's very attractive. So I mean, that's something that we've marketed here after becoming LEED Gold. So I would say if you're talking to your decision makers about why you would want to do something like this for your city, I think you get a lot of economic benefit from being seen as a city that, and I'm an engineer, so and some of the marketing stuff bothers me because I'm like, well, let's get down to the projects and what are we going to do? But there is a advantage to being able to tell your story about how this is an important initiative and what your city stands for. So I think there were a lot of benefits in doing that. Montana people are moving here. People want to move here. And I think being able to say your city cares about this and is very strong. And for us, and being LEED gold rated, being one of the, I think there's 120 some rated in the US and only 21 are gold. I think it kind of gives you a good basis for just pursuing sustainability goals and being able to objectively measure them. I would be interested. This group is obviously more knowledgeable about renewables than I am. I would be interested in, maybe here's a question for you all, is what should be our next steps as far as pursuing potentially cogeneration at these water and wastewater facilities? What technologies would you be looking at? I've like I said, I've done an assessment for solar at our wastewater facility, but would you be strictly looking at that? I've looked at wind a little bit, but if Billings isn't terribly windy down in the valley, so I don't know if anybody has any thoughts on that.
We're big proponents of solar, no doubt. However, there's a lot of other things. Wind, that might be off-site, because you're right there in Billings as far as a available wind resource. But maybe you're familiar with this, Lewis. I'm not sure. I've heard something about other cities, maybe I can't remember where, but so through your process of aeration and then moving the water, is there opportunities to put turbines in line anywhere there? Like, you have flowing water, and can that spin a flywheel to generate electricity?
I've looked some at kind of our outfall. Generally, our system is designed to be very flat on the wastewater side, specifically, where there's just not a lot of drop. I've looked a little bit at kind of our effluent pipe. It's a 60-inch pipe, but it's only about 10 to 20 feet of drop. There could be some potential there, so that is something interesting to consider.
Well, thank you, Lewis. That was really great. We're right here, going to stay on our timeline. We appreciate you joining, and just congratulations. Thank you for that effort. It's great for the city of Billings. It's great for Montana, and it just shows real leadership. We appreciate that.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much.
Great. And so we're going to move along and keep going. So MRE board members and staff will be sharing some success stories from the past year that are worth celebrating. It's really exciting, not the least of which welcoming our new executive director, McKenna Sellers. And of course, we are in the midst of a Montana legislative session. And so our work up there is important and multifaceted, but always just trying to work for Montana energy policy that we hear directly from Montanans about how important it is and how we need to be carrying on our rich tradition of natural resources, and including our wind resource and our big sky and solar resource as well.
So I'd like to pass the microphone to board member and retired geophysicist who brings a whole lot of brains to the MREA Brain Trust, Mark Judeman.
I'm unmuted, just a second. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent, thank you. Thanks for the introduction. I'm Mark Judeman. I'm a board member and the Fair and Events Committee Chair. And I just want to say that last year, MREA accomplished a whole lot as an organization. There's a lot to be proud of. If you're new to MREA, this is also a good chance to get the flavor of what we focus on. We launched a brand new monthly educational series called Exploring Energy, where we brought in subject matter experts from across the nation to give virtual educational deep dives on buzzwords and energy headlines and vernacular like microgrids, third-party financing, storage and batteries, indigenous energy sovereignty, and navigating the Inflation Reduction Act, to name a few. If you missed the Exploring Energy series, it's your lucky day. We created an Exploring Energy resource bank on MREA's YouTube page. And I think that McKenna is going to put that into the chat so that you can find that link. Thank you. Between the Exploring series and our presentations at schools, universities, neighborhood solarized campaigns in central Montana and the like, we directly impacted 2,500 people with our top tier Montana-minded educational content last year. We plan to be of direct assistance to even more Montanans looking for affordable, reliable, clean energy options in 2023. But we don't end our work with the Exploring Energy series. MREA is also a contributing member of the Agri-Solar Clearinghouse and information sharing, relationship building, public communications hub for all things solar and agriculture. The Clearinghouse connects farmers, developers, researchers, and the public, provides technical assistance, develops best practices and innovative solutions to barriers, and promotes sustainable agri-solar opportunities all across the country. The Agri-Solar Clearinghouse has a series of free webinars going through May 14th and an online forum that is worth checking out. You can do so by visiting the Agri-Solar Clearinghouse through the link in the chat. This past summer, we came back to hosting the flagship Montana Clean Energy Fair after a 2-year COVID pause. We bring the fair to you by rotating the event to different Montana locations every other year. The fair boasts workshops on solar, wind, off-grid living, EVs, and practical clean energy transition topics. There's an electric car showcase and a solar home tour. There are kids' activities, and there are direct access to vendors doing this work with customers in real time every day. Stakes ran high at our last Clean Energy Fair in Butte when we raffled off the coveted state-of-the-art e-bike, generously sponsored by Maverick Motorsports. Amy, the winner of the e-bike this year, says she accompanies her husband with his dirt bike on the weekends now and loves every minute of it. Perhaps the next e-bike winner could be you. We'll save the special announcement about the 2023 fair to board member Susan Below in a minute. Finally, we continued our work in 2022 on the Montana Rural Solar Access Project, a multi-year endeavor to identify barriers, meet folks where they're at, and provide technical support to bring rural vitality solar projects to completion. Here at MREA, we firmly believe that solar shouldn't be available to wealthy people, just be available to wealthy people, or to people living in more urban areas. We are committed to making solar affordable and accessible to all by addressing the roadblocks in our way. Reports from phases 1 and 2 of this project can be found on the MREA website. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope that these various efforts and successes we had in 2022 inspire you to become a member.
Thanks, Mark. Awesome presentation. Now we're transitioning to, after taking a look and celebrating some of the work we accomplished in 2022, talking about what's up in 2023. And we are very much in the midst of a legislative session. So we have to at least start with what's going on at the legislature. And for that, I'm going to pass the microphone to Nicola Laverack.
Great. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, McKenna. It's so inspiring to capture the multifaceted work of MREA all in one place. And it's a really good reminder that our programs are made possible by our supporting members. The more voices we have, the more power we have to make meaningful change at the state and local level. And as a nonprofit, we rely on our members to fuel and inform the projects, education, and actions we take on. So if you feel so moved, we would love to have everyone on this call become a member of MREA. I was so pumped about the turnout, and I saw it was upwards of 50 people at one point. And if all around 50 of us on this call became an MREA member on behalf of their household, their business, their city, or their organization, think of all the possibilities that could unfold for MREA. So McKenna added that in the chat if anyone wants to go down that road. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Nicola Lavrak. I'm on the MREA board and I serve on the policy committee. I'm also the communications director at On-Site Energy, which is a Bozeman and Missoula-based solar installer. And I'm going to give a little recap of the work that's been going on at the legislature. MREA is a strong force at the state legislature, and we continue to champion the priorities and interests of Montanans and our local renewable energy industry. This session, we've seen a lot of bills aim to restrict local government's decision-making powers, especially for things like renewable energy planning. And so, for example, MREA opposes HB 241, which is a bill that prohibits the Department of Labor and Industry from adopting state building codes that include provisions around solar or EV installation requirements. In other words, it's trying to ban solar and EV-ready building codes and restricting the ability of local governments to thoughtfully plan for a renewable energy transition is not something we support. We've also seen bills that increase taxes on large-scale renewable energy, like SB 97, which was tabled, and a new bill, very similar, that we oppose, HB 454, that taxes large-scale renewable energy generation by 500%. A five-fold increase in taxes could make large-scale renewable projects uncompetitive in Montana, to say the least. There are attempts to push Montana's renewable energy industry off its strong trajectory for success. MREA will continue to be a presence at the legislature, thanks to McKenna. She'll be communicating with lawmakers and working to advance renewable energy industry and the jobs, economic activity, and energy resilience that stems from it. MREA has been monitoring a slate of electric vehicle and EV charging station bills that are designed to plan for the projected uptake in EV adoption in the coming years. Those include HB 55, which is a tax on public charging stations at 3 cents per kilowatt hour, HB 60, which would increase the registration fees for electric vehicles and hybrids, and SB 255, which would establish a consistent rate-making process for EV charging stations and equipment. It would clarify that public utilities, local governments can also be EV charging station service providers, and it would standardize the cost to charge by kilowatt hour. So we're encouraged to see that our state lawmakers see the importance and the writing on the wall of EV adoption, and will stay abreast of changes that the MREA community should know about. And there's also a few bills that we're excited about supporting. For example, a bill that would enable community solar, which is spearheaded by Northern Plains Resource Council. And that would expand Montanans' ability to offset their energy use with solar by signing up for a share of a community solar array if they are Northwestern Energy customers. This is something that already happens in co-op territory, but not Northwestern Energy territory. This is an access issue. We believe that everyone should have the chance to choose clean, affordable energy, even if they can't install solar on their own property or if they're renting. We're really excited about the chance to support more clean energy opportunities, more equitable opportunities for everyone. And finally, we're going to need your support in the coming weeks against a bad rooftop solar bill that's focused on devaluing rooftop solar and making it harder to set fair rates that account for the full range of cost of benefits, which is all the more reason to join our mailing list to stay up to date on action alerts and different ways you can help and stay engaged in the session. And now McKenna is going to share some key highlights of what we have planned for the year ahead.
Thanks, Nicola, and great presentation on what we've seen at the legislature so far. I did put, because there's a vote up this week, or at least there's a hearing, excuse me, there's a hearing up for that large scale renewable energy tax bill, House Bill 454. I just flagged that for everyone's attention. While MREA's membership focuses more so on distributed energy, we still think that advancing the renewable industry in Montana is going to take all these different avenues, including large scale. So we want to make sure that our members have that knowledge at their disposal. So as far as happenings for 2023, if Nicola's legislative briefing was any indication, MREA will continue to focus our work at the legislative session, defending against bad policies designed to have detrimental effects on the renewable energy industry in Montana, while supporting the good state policies that would move the needle for a more clean powered future for Montana residents. Looking ahead, MREA is going to devote our 2023 capacity in 3 major areas. One is providing education around renewable energy and efficiency incentives through the Inflation Reduction Act. There's just so much information there. There's so many different opportunities, sometimes at the utility scale or co-op, which is also utility scale, but the co-op level, and for residences and local governments, that it's a whole lot to wade through. What MREA is committed to doing is providing good information for our members and being a convening space where we can sift through some of the information. Expanding, another priority, our second focus area, expanding workforce development opportunities for renewable energy and efficiency careers in Montana. This is really key. We've got some incredible solar installers in the state. We have some energy auditors who are part of our membership, but in order to make the energy transition possible, and even in order to take advantage of all the incentives coming through the Inflation Reduction Act, we need a good pipeline in the workforce for Montanans who are interested in pursuing a career, a long-term good paying job, to have a pipeline where they can do this work. And I'm excited to share a bright spot of very good news and total kudos to the Missoula Clean Energy Workforce Coalition, which includes Missoula County and a number of other players, convened by Climate Smart Missoula. You can see that here. They won a national competition through the U.S. Department of Energy for the Community Clean Energy Coalition Prize. And only 10 groups were selected. So out of the hundreds, maybe, who knows, however many people applied or organizations applied, Missoula was one of 10 winners across the nation interested in pursuing this coalition idea for workforce development in clean energy careers for low-income women in the Missoula community. So MREA is very excited to support that, and I think that's an excellent example of what's possible in terms of workforce development and how we're thinking about Montana's clean energy workforce development in the coming years. We also are going to look to examples, because we don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's great workforce development work happening in North Carolina, also through the Department of Energy, or funding through the Department of Energy. So MREA is committed to looking into some of those opportunities, engaging with our members, getting a better sense of the landscape, and trying to find those inroads for workforce development. And then our third focus area is completing the third and final phase of the Montana Rural Solar Access Project. In 2023, we plan to assist with solar projects in communities that were identified through the Montana Rural Solar Access Project in phase 2. We plan on distributing more of our educational handouts through key community venues and expanding professional development opportunities, which really goes hand in hand with that focus area number 2. So that's what we have planned. Does it sound like a lot of work? Yes. Does it sound like things we can tackle because that's what we're good at MREA? Absolutely. So I'd like to pass the microphone to Susan to tell you about a good save the date. We've told you kind of the programmatic plans for 2023, and Susan and Sarah are going to wrap us up with some save the dates and opportunities for you to plug in.
Yeah, thanks, McKenna. Hi, everybody. I'm Susan Bulow. I serve on the board of directors. I've been a long time member of MREA, even before I served on the board, but I'm very involved in the policy and the fair and events committee. And just real quick about me, I teach energy and sustainability and energy efficient HVAC technologies at Gallatin College. And I love our fair. If you've never been to our fair, you've got to come. But the big announcement, drum roll from Christmas vacation, our next Clean Energy Fair will be Saturday, August 12th for the first time in Billings, Montana. We'll be there for 2 years. And our fair is awesome. The history is unique. We started at the National Center for Appropriate Technology, and initially we just had mostly like installers having booths, and we started workshops, and we've been doing that for quite a long time. But there are exhibitors, tables with things you can look at and see and learn about, and installers, you can learn about what services they can provide. All kinds of interesting information, the car show, kids events, the workshops are rocking. They're really good. We really get feedback from folks on those. Mark already mentioned, the giveaways that we have. But yeah, this will be in Billings for the first time, and it'll be there for 2 years. But this year it's on Saturday, August 12th. On the MSU Billings campus, which is on the 27th Street, if you're not familiar with that area. But we're doing all the stuff we normally do, and we hope that you'll help us spread the word. And McKenna has provided our flyer for this year, and she'll in a minute provide the link where you can check on there and learn more about when it starts and what workshops will be. So if you have gone before, please come again, because it's always new and exciting. If you've never been, you gotta come. Thanks. Oh, and now Sarah is going to provide some more information on activities that are coming up. Sarah, hand it over to you.
Thanks, Susan. I'm also running the slides, so let me just flip it over to my slide. I am a board member and serving my second term. I'm based in Livingston, and unlike Susan, I jumped right into the board and then became a member when I moved back to my hometown, and really passionate about what this technology can do from an equity, inclusion, and bringing renewable energy to all Montanans, no matter your economic position. So really excited to be part of this, and part of our 2023 is we're hitting the road, and we're expanding this online digital version to a in-person event. So this summer, MREA is taking our Rendezvous to the next level and in person, and we want to have really direct contact with MRE members, keep introducing McKenna and supporting her in different communities across Montana, and really engaging with members who want to support Montana, and to really understand our members and their needs. And so we can, filter that back up through the legislative session and helping develop policy and all sorts. So your questions are important, your needs, and to really understand what we all need to achieve our collective mission towards a renewable powered future, and that we share for all Montanans. If you have an idea or want to help out at the Renewable Rendezvous, we're looking for partners as we hit the road. And so we would really invite you to reach out to us. We want to partner with venues, organizations that share the same values. You don't have to be an installer or have solar on your building. Just an interest and a passion that we all share is enough. And we're still confirming these locations. We've provided a list there. And also locations with partners. But for instance, it looks like in Bozeman, we're going to be meeting up at the Public Safety Center. They've reached out to us. And one of the solar projects you may have seen featured from MRE's member installations at the start of the Rendezvous as we were flipping through some of those slides. It is one of the largest non-utility solar systems in the state, so 264 kilowatts. And so you get a little background of what's happening there on the project side, as well as meeting us. And I think that's it. McKenna, back to you.
Thanks, Sarah. We are inching toward the end of the Rendezvous. You've heard a whole lot about the work that we did last year, work in 2023. What do you all think? This was a new event for us. Do you feel more connected to MREA and empowered with tools to make projects a reality, even if it's just incrementally? I sure hope so. A little wrap-up question before we close. If you could describe your experience at the Renewable Rendezvous in one word, please type it in the chat. Awesome connection with David as a solar community organizer. I'm seeing inspiring, energized, invigorating, learned a lot, useful, connected, encouraging, momentum. I like that one a lot. Involved, multi-level. Well, thanks. Thanks for joining us. Versatile, powerful. I think you guys can read the rest too, but I really like being able to see some of these words, and it's been such a pleasure to be in community with you all, talk about the work we have ahead. And we wanted to give you a short list of like, well, what can you do now? One, become a supporting member of MREA if you're not already. And if you are a member, invite a friend to be. We're still a small nonprofit organization, and our members are the lifeblood of the work that we are able to accomplish. So if you want MREA's work to continue, be a member and have more folks sign up. Sign up for our action alerts and our newsletter. Participate in the fair coming up on August 12th in Billings. The first time we're having this in Billings, so we'll be trying something different there. And if you know folks in Billings who might have an interest or even just curious about going solar or energy efficiency for their home or business, that'd be the place to send them this summer, August 12th. Start encouraging your friends, school, church, business, or city officials to start taking some renewable energy action. I think Lewis Engels' presentation was an excellent catalyst. Maybe look at Lead for cities in your town and see what might be possible. Or if you really don't know where to start with any of this, because it's a whole lot going on, start with an email, give us a call. We want to be as accessible as possible. And we have a really active board of directors, as you've seen showcased here. So it's definitely a group effort to keep Montana Renewable Energy Association thriving. And if you want to be a part of that, start having that conversation and get it started. All right. And to close, Caroline.
Thanks, McKenna. Thank you, everyone, for giving us part of your evening to connect and talk about renewable energy and get excited about all the possibilities that are here in our state. My name is Caroline Bean. I'm a board member, and I've had the privilege of being the behind-the-scenes Zoom event manager today. I want to thank all the board members who made today possible, and McKenna especially. I'd like to ask all of you, directly, if you're not a member of MREA yet, would you consider joining today, helping us grow our membership, be in different places across the state, support McKenna and all of her work that she does for us. I know in Montana, there's a lot of different ways to spend your time and resources. There's so many good causes. There's so many fun things to do. Time for me is my most precious resource, I think. And yet I give a lot of it to MREA because I so believe in the mission, and I believe in the power of this organization to move from being visionary and thinking about what a world would look like where solar is more accessible, regardless of your income or any other background, but can also be boots on the ground at the legislature and intervening at the Public Service Commission and really making that vision possible. And I think you see some of that versatility in the chat too. We can build community, we can feel connected, we can get energized and inspired. And that's what MREA is to me. So if you're not a member, please join. If you are a member and you are able to donate $25 even to help make our fair possible, that would mean so much to us. And if you've done that or you can't do that, do you know someone who has solar and might not have heard of MREA? Can you let them know about us? Can you tell them to join? Really, that's what we're trying to do, is get our roots out into the whole state. So any way you can help, we would be so appreciative. And we just really thank you for giving us part of your evening tonight. And this is the end of our formal programming, but we're here. We're going to stick around if people have questions or want to chat and network afterwards. So with that, I'll turn it back over to McKenna, but I think we're ready to close out.
Thanks, everybody. Hope you have a wonderful evening.